In a small, forgotten town tucked between golden fields and distant hills, there stood a building unlike any other, a grand library made of stone and glass, with tall arched windows that caught the morning light. Yet, inside, the shelves were bare. No books, no scrolls, no papers, just rows upon rows of empty wooden shelves that echoed softly when footsteps passed. Travelers who stumbled upon it would shake their heads in confusion. "What kind of library has no books?" they would say. But to the townspeople, it was simply called the Library of Silence. Most had long stopped visiting, believing it to be useless. But once every week, an old man named Edward came to sit there. He would bring a cup of tea, sit at one of the wooden tables, and simply stare at the shelves as if reading something invisible. Children often peeked through the door, whispering, "What does he see in there?" No one knew until one curious boy named Michael decided to find out. Michael was 12, full of questions and energy. His family lived nearby, and he often ran errands past the library. One windy afternoon, he saw Edward walking toward the building with his usual calm, carrying nothing but a small notebook. Michael followed quietly, curiosity burning brighter with each step. Inside, the library was filled with soft light filtering through dusty windows. The air was thick with silence, almost sacred. Edward sat in his usual spot, sipping tea, eyes gently fixed on the shelves. Michael couldn't resist any longer. "Sir," he said, stepping closer, "why do you come here? There are no books to read." The old man turned slowly, a kind smile on his wrinkled face. "Ah, but who told you that books are the only way to read?" Michael frowned. "But reading means words, doesn't it?" Edward chuckled. "Not always, my boy. This library holds stories, but not the kind written with ink." He gestured toward the empty shelves. "Would you like to learn how to read them?" Michael hesitated, but nodded. The old man motioned for him to sit. "Close your eyes," he said. "Tell me what you hear." Michael listened. At first, there was only silence. Then, faintly, the sound of the wind brushing against the windows, the creak of old wood, and somewhere outside, laughter of children playing. "Good," Edward said softly. "Now tell me what you feel." Michael thought. "Calm," he whispered. "Peaceful." Edward smiled. "That, my boy, is your first lesson. Knowledge is not only in words, it's in what the world whispers when you are quiet enough to listen." From that day, Michael began visiting the library every week. Edward never lectured or handed him a book. Instead, he asked questions, strange, thought-provoking ones. What do you learn from a leaf? What does silence teach? If you had nothing to say, would your presence still matter? At first, Michael was puzzled, but over time, he began to understand. The empty shelves represented something more. The spaces in life where we think nothing exists, yet wisdom hides. Edward would say, "People come to libraries to fill their minds, but this place is to empty it, to make room for what truly matters." Months passed, and Michael changed. He became more observant, more thoughtful. He began to notice things others ignored: the patience of his mother while weaving, the quiet strength of his father in the fields, the way dawn always arrived even after the darkest night. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Michael asked, "Sir, why did you build this library?" Edward smiled wistfully. "I didn't build it. My father did." He looked toward the shelves. He was a scholar, a man of great words. This library was once full of books, thousands of them. People came from distant towns to read and learn. But one night, a great fire broke out. Everything was lost. Michael's eyes widened. Didn't he rebuild it? Edward shook his head. He tried, but when he saw the ashes, he said something I never forgot. Perhaps we rely too much on what's written and too little on what's lived. So he kept the walls, the shelves, and the silence, and called it the library with no books. Michael looked around differently now. The emptiness no longer felt sad, it felt alive. The next few years became a quiet apprenticeship. Edward taught him to reflect, to listen, to think deeply before speaking. They discussed the stars, human nature, kindness, and the lessons hidden in failure. Once, when Michael failed an exam at school and came feeling defeated, Edward said, "Failure is a better teacher than success. A full shelf may look impressive, but it's the empty one that reminds us to grow." As time went on, word spread again about the strange library. Travelers began stopping by, curious about the old man and the boy who spent hours in silence. Some mocked it, others stayed and found something unexpected, a sense of peace they couldn't name. A merchant once said, "I came to rest, but I left wiser. The silence spoke to me." The library slowly became a quiet sanctuary, not for reading, but for reflection. Years later, Edward grew frail. His visits became shorter, his steps slower. One cold morning, Michael found him sitting in his usual spot, looking content. "It's time," Edward said softly. "The shelves have taught me all they could." Michael's eyes welled up. "Don't say that, sir." The old man chuckled gently. "Huh, but I'm not leaving, my boy. I will live in these shelves, in the silence, and in you." With that, he closed his eyes, and the library fell into a deeper stillness than ever before. After Edward's passing, Michael took his place, not as a librarian, but as a guardian of silence. He kept the library open, welcoming all who sought meaning beyond noise. Sometimes visitors came in restless, burdened by life's chaos, but left lighter, calmer, changed. When people asked, "What do you do here if there are no books?" Michael would smile, just as Edward once had, and reply, "I help people read themselves." Years turned into decades, and the library became a legend, the place where silence taught more than any book could. Artists came for inspiration, farmers for clarity, travelers for rest. And though no one wrote down the lessons it held, those who visited carried them away in their hearts. One autumn evening, long after Michael had grown old, a young girl entered the library. She looked around and asked softly, "Why are the shelves empty?" Michael smiled, his voice trembling with age, but still warm. "Because sometimes what we seek isn't missing, it's within us, waiting to be discovered." She sat beside him, and together they watched the last light of day fall through the tall windows, filling the empty shelves with gold. When Michael passed years later, the townspeople gathered to honor him and the old man before him. They placed a small plaque at the entrance that read, "Here stands the library with no books, a place that teaches not through pages, but through peace." Visitors still come, and when they step inside, they feel it, the quiet hum of wisdom in the air, the sense that the walls remember every thought, every pause, every awakening that happened within them. And as the sunlight moves across the empty shelves, it seems to whisper Edward's timeless lesson. Silence is not the absence of learning, it is the space where true wisdom begins. Patience, reflection, and silence are the true teachers of wisdom. Books can show the world, but stillness reveals the soul. Growth begins when the noise fades and understanding takes root. Those who learn to listen to silence learn to hear life itself. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, Wisdom Life, and also like, comment, and share the video.